Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is when you listen or watch this. I am fortunate to have you here. This is the episode 51 of Learn Piano in the Car podcast. I'm Carol Brotherston, founder of Perfect Piano Academy, and today I want to talk about what to practice. This is the first of a series of 5 videos. What to practice. And I've got a bit of a tongue-in-cheek little graphic that I'm going to put up on this video. So it's a pie chart for those of you listening in the car. And the pie chart has the main chunk of it in purple. And that main chunk is what we're practicing, which is the little piece of music that you have already mastered that you just play over and over and over again when you practice. There's another chunk staring at the wall. How much time do you spend staring at the wall? Another section checking your phone. Yep. Another section taking a snack break. That's me. I like my snacks, especially chocolate snacks. Another small section, which I guess is about 5% of your practice time, is spent on scales, which is actually good. At least the scales are featuring in there, but I don't see arpeggios or doesn't actually tell you if it's contrary motion scales or similar motion scales, how many octaves. There's not much use in just practicing 1 octave of a scale. You need to practice 2, 3, 4 octaves, and also a tiny little green sliver, which is another 5%, which is actually practicing. So the biggest part of what we do is just keep repeating the one bit that we can do already. So how far do you think that practice session is going to develop you? The answer is not a lot. So in order to practice, let's just have a little think. What do you need to practice? So if you're a beginner, you're working through a method book. And in the method book, there will be pieces. If you're a beginner, you're not going on Amazon or going to a music shop and buying pieces to practice, because guess what? Those pieces won't be the right level for you as a beginner, and they might not be the right level for you for 5 years. How would you know what is the right level? So when you're first starting, you need to follow a method book and trust that the person that wrote the method book knows the right level of pieces for you, and they will be in that method book. So you are practicing the method book and you're practicing pieces that are in the method book. You are also practicing scales. Yes, indeed. But you're not just practicing random scales and just adding another scale to another scale to another scale. It doesn't work like that. What you're doing when you're practicing scales is practicing your technique, understanding key signatures, understanding the structure of a major scale and a minor scale, and a load of other bits of theory that are actually in there, all bundled up into scales. There's also arpeggios, there's broken chords, there's contrary motion scales, there's similar motion scales. You need to understand all that. It's not just, let's just practice a few scales. You are looking at theory. Like it or not, when you're learning piano, if you're using a method book, which I highly recommend, then you're learning theory, you're learning to read sheet music, you're learning what a treble clef is, you're learning the terminology. What does mezzo forte mean? Fortissimo, what do these things mean? What is staccato? What is rallentendo? What even is an arpeggio? There are so many words to learn, and that's all part of the theory, as well as understanding intervals and understanding rhythm and time signatures. It's all part of the theory. You can't learn to play without taking on board some theory. So you're practicing theory as well. There are theory books for that purpose that teach you the theory, but also ask you questions and encourage you to think and to check your comprehension. There are exercises that you should be practicing. 2 dozen a day is a series that you find on Amazon. I recommend it quite a lot. It's not my book, but the exercises in it are progressive. So start at the first book and just add these exercises to your practice. And that is what I would call actually practicing, is practicing things like that. Then sight reading, the sight reading books that are progressive, they contain exercises. There's a method that I teach, which I'm not going to talk about here, but there is a step-by-step guide to your approach, how to approach a piece of sight reading. And you embed that step-by-step approach and you set yourself up to sight read. Sight reading is when you look at a piece of music for about a minute or so and then you just play it. But sight reading exercises are only short. They're 4 bars or 8 bars depending on what level. Sometimes you get a whole page depending on the level that you're at. Sight reading is not picking up any piece of music and just trying to play it. Not in the early days. Certainly later on, maybe after 5 or 6 or more years. Sight reading to start with is a structured process, guided steps, exercises, progressively harder exercises that you deliberately, with intention, add to your practice plan. And that's the final thing about what do you practice. You should have a practice plan. You can't get through all of what I've just said in every practice, can you? So you need a practice plan that gives you what to practice on a daily basis and what to practice on a monthly basis and your plan should have targets, and you'll be picking from lots of different resources. You have a method book, but you also need the scales book, the theory books, the daily exercise books, the sight reading books, the other things to supplement your method. Okay, so that's enough for today. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about when you should practice, and that's going to cover what you should have in your practice plan and how you might structure that. Then the next day I'm thinking about how you practice, which is about your posture, your equipment, the structure to your practice. The next day after that we'll be looking at, well, how do you assess if you're actually practicing well? Because just like that pie chart that I talked about mentions, if you sit down and just practice without any of the structure and without any targets and without any idea of why you're doing it, and you're just stabbing at the dark as to what you're actually doing, how would you actually know if you're getting any better? So I've got ways to assess your progress as well. You don't want to be working really hard for 2 years and then after 2 years still say I can't play piano. And the number of people that come to me that say I'm not improving, don't know what I'm doing wrong, spending hours and hours practicing and I'm not getting anywhere. Well, I've got some thoughts on that. later in this series. So I'm Carol Brotherston, founder of Perfect Piano Academy. You can check me out on social media or my website, perfectpiano.org.uk. Send me any questions you have to info@themusicroom.org.uk or contact me on WhatsApp 07581 067 056. This podcast is supposed to be 5 minutes and it's nearly 11, so I think I need to go. Enjoy your day. Bye just now.